again, you'll have to excuse the mess of the house. Right, so, according to my thing, we are at 13 weeks and 6 days, so almost 14 weeks. So 14 weeks on tea, hurrah! As you can see, I've got quite an outbreak of spots. Most of them are on my back, it's quite funny. So, things that have continued to change. So, my voice is going. It's actually really funny because every so often I feel it squeak. And it's not as obvious as like TV or whatever. It's just every so often it just feels a bit weak and kind of it goes weird. And that really amuses me. I think it's really funny. And what else? I mean, still getting spots, still getting that sort of thing. The hair is continuing to thicken up. On my arms particularly, which is really amusing. What was mostly blonde hair is now turned black. Facial hair is coming through, but it's still really patchy and in really random places. So instead of filling in at all, what it's doing is it's kind of growing in a little cluster here, and then growing in a little cluster here, and then there's a couple here and here, and it makes no bloody sense, and it's really irritating. Moustache, it thickens slightly, but it really hasn't done anything, so whatever. Still, really, I have one proper chest hair, which I've always had. It's a pre-T chest hair. So, I don't know, I might not grow chest hair, I just don't know. It's sort of that fun game of what's gonna grow hair and what's not, and at the moment my theory that bits of me that were already hairy would just become hairier, and bits that didn't have hair would probably stay not with no hair, seems to be relatively true. It'll be interesting to see, you know, whether that changes. I'm wet. This is water. Yeah, my hair's still wet because I just got out of the shower. So those are, you know, kind of majority of the major changes. My body shape is still changing. My waist is widening and my hips are narrowing, which means that it's slowly becoming a bit more up and down. And my stomach has shrunk, which is weird because stomach usually you'd expect to get bigger because that's where men hold their fat. But in my case, what seems to actually be happening is I'm going to sneeze. Ooh, I think we're good. What seems to be happening is that the edema that I suffer from is actually going down. I mean, you can see how loose my rings now are. I keep nearly losing them. So there is still obvious swelling in my fingers and in my ankles and around here and things like that, but it is going down, and it's going down significantly more than it did on diuretics or anything else that the doctors tried. So I think the theory that it was being caused by estrogen is probably quite true. The doctor told me it was estrogen retention or something. It gets stuck in the cells. I don't know. I don't understand it. Anyway, so that's mostly the physical side of things. It's sort of just plodding along, same old, same old. No real major things. So, we'll see. In terms of everything else, I mean, I finally got my deed poll signed, so I need to go and deal with the stress that is that. When I got married, I changed my name, and it was such a ball ache, and I'm not looking forward to having to do it again. The bank said that I should call the, what are they called? Credit agencies first and see what their protocol was before I changed my name with the bank. Honestly, I just get kind of overwhelmed and nope out of it. But my name I've now got a deed poll, so that's awesome. And in terms of other things, family, they've gotten really good with my name. They're calling me Ryan now quite a bit. Not so good with the pronouns, but I think that's going to take quite a lot of time. I assume that as I become more obviously masculine in appearance, it'll just sort of naturally switch over. I hope, anyway, because if they're still calling me she, her, daughter, sister, whatever, when I look like a guy, that's going to be really awkward and could potentially, out me to people I don't necessarily want to be outed to. So that's my hope, is that as I become more obviously masculine, it'll just become a natural thing. The thing is that I don't really find pronouns upset me that much. I kind of just tune them out. It's more an awareness of not wanting strangers to be all up in my business. I don't really want to have to deal with that. I just want to kind of be left alone. So there's that. So my mother is trying. Bless her, she really is. We had an amusing I'm struggling as well. We had an amusing one a couple of weeks ago where I'd met up with my mum and her choir buddies, because she'd just come out of choir. And I've met a fair few of them before, but a few of them I hadn't met before. And one of them turned to me and she said, "Who are you then?" And I was like, I'm her. And I went, oh shit. If I say daughter, then I'm kind of letting myself down. And if I say son, I'm outing myself. Fuck. What do I say? I'm her child. And I was like, that was so awkward. And she was just like, oh, okay. But, oh my God, it was super awkward. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that coming up. And it's just like, you get a small child coming up to you going, are you a boy or a girl? I don't know. So yeah, it's amusing. So socially, yeah, we're just kind of plodding along. I am not officially out to most of the local community, but eventually they'll figure it out, because I'm out and about all the time, and it's not like they don't know me, they don't see me, so a lot of the shops and stuff like that are going to be like, wait a minute. But our local community is really kind of chill, and they're more likely to be bitching about a new nail bar or Domino's pizza or something than they are to be, transphobic or homophobic or anything like that. So that's nice. We're a very sort of privileged middle class area, and it's very much first world problems with this lot. They're like, oh no, another nail bar. Oh no, KFC. Oh, it's going to make everyone fat. This is really, really funny, actually. It's just, bitching and moaning about trivial shit just really amuses me. But generally speaking, they're pretty chill. So that's nice. It means that I'm pretty safe in this area, I hope, anyway. I mean, we've got a fair few same-sex couples. We have at least one other trans person. There's a cross-dresser as well, who I've met in Starbucks. He's lovely. And so it's not like I'm unique in the area, which is good, because I'm fucking sick of being everyone's first trans person. It's honestly really exhausting. So, like, my doctor has never treated anyone transgender before. The school that my kids go to has never had a parent who was trans before. I think they've had a student, but never a parent. So they don't really know what the hell. My bank's never, well, at least my local bank's never done it. The amount of places I go to, and I'm like, hi, I need to do this, and they're like, oh, we've never done that before. We don't know what to do. We don't know what the, and it's tiring, because you end up having to educate constantly and having to do all the legwork, and I just don't want to. It was quite nice. Last week, was it last week or the week before? I went to a hospital appointment with my middle child to go and see one of the educational psychologists, or whatever the heck they are, because my middle child has ADHD. So we were going there to talk to them, and he asked me my name, and I said my name is Ryan, and he said, "Oh, what are your pronouns?" And I said, he, him, and without missing a beat, he went, "Okay, cool," and just wrote that down. Confirmed that I was the birth mother, and then just continued as if everything was fine. And he said, yeah, well, we get all sorts here. So clearly I wasn't the first, which was nice. And when he wrote up the family tree, he put like the trans symbol for me, and I was like, that's really So I was quite pleased by that, actually. I thought that was quite nice. But it was a real novelty to not be the first, you know, to not be different and new and a little bit scary, you know. So that was quite a relief. Unfortunately, with almost everything else, I remain a novelty, and it's exhausting, and I don't like it. I don't like having that burden put on me where they're like, oh, but what do we do in this situation? I'm like, what? How should I frickin' know? This is new to me as well. How should I frickin' know? And so everything always kind of comes down to me. How do we do this? How do we handle this? How do we? And I'm like, I don't know. Can someone please just do it for me? But yeah, and so the school are trying. They refer to me as parent, which is funny. And I think they were gonna, well, if it came up, they were gonna do some stuff with the kids to kind of like, you know, explain everything's okay and all of that. But I don't think the kids have really, I don't know, I haven't heard anything about the kids being odd. The youngest is the one who outed me to the school anyway by telling them all, Mommy wants to be a man. Mommy's going to be a boy now. And I was like, thanks, kid. Thanks. Now I've got to explain that to the school. Social services, same thing. They were like, oh, he said this. And I was like, oh, God, yes. Yes. And the doctor's surgery, my GP is trying, but she really has no freaking clue what she's doing. And the big problem there is she's used to dealing with predominantly female patients doing female things like gyno and contraception and all of that. That's her area of expertise. And she is a GP, so she does have, you know, she can do everything else as well, but generally speaking, because there is a male doctor and a female doctor, quite often the male doctor takes the non-woman stuff and the female doctor takes... I don't know why they do it that way. Well, I do. It's because the male doctor seems to be terrified of vaginas. He is. I have had to go and see him before, and he's been like, oh, I'm like, you're a fucking doctor, get over it. It's not that. I mean, I know it's gross, but seriously, you're a fucking doctor. You are not making me feel better right now. But he seems to be absolutely terrified of female anatomy, and it's just ridiculous and kind of pathetic, to be honest. But anyway, I kind of expect a doctor to just be able to get on with it. But anyway, so the female doctor, she's lovely, but she has no idea what she's doing. She got a bit weird about whether she could refer me for gyno if I was listed as male, and it was all this ridiculousness. And then she had a kind of argument with the manager, who said that they couldn't give me tea on the NHS. So I'm still private for tea, and that is a headache. So at the moment, I'm still having to go through the private psychiatrist to get testosterone, which is not ideal. Because he's massively swamped, and I emailed him about 2 weeks ago. I still haven't heard back. I need to email again, because I have one bottle left, which means I have about 5 weeks left. There's slightly more than a month in the bottles for some reason. So I have about 5 weeks left, and that's cutting it a bit fine because it can take quite a while. I need to get through to him. He needs to then send me a paper prescription, which has to come through the post, which can take a week. I then have to take that down to my pharmacy, and they have to order it in, which can take several days. Depending on the pharmacy, it can take a day or two, or it can take a week. And so I need to get that prescription before I run out. Whether I will or not, though, depends on whether I can get in contact with him. And that's a pain in the ass, and it's a real headache. I don't mind having to pay for it. It's just, if it was NHS, it would automatically renew every 3 months. Every 3 months, I'll just get a text message saying, your prescription's come in, come and pick it up. like with my other medication, and that would save me so much stress. But unfortunately they're saying, oh, we don't have the money, we can't pay for that, oh no, we don't want to do it, basically because the manager is just a dick. I don't like the manager of my local GP, he's an asshole. He dragged me in once and scolded me for bad-mouthing them on social media because someone asked for reviews of the doctor's surgery, and I was like, yeah, some of the doctors are really nice, but it's really hard to get appointments, and they're a bit shit when it comes to complaints. And then I got a call and told to come in, and he basically chewed me out for saying that, and I was like, are you fucking serious? He basically threatened me that if I badmouth them again, then they would strike me off of their records or some bollocks. I don't think they can, but I was like, really? So you're just censoring anyone who has anything negative to say rather than fixing the issue? Fuck you. So yeah, I don't like the manager. I like my doctor, I don't like the manager. He's a prick. But the problem is, everyone's like, oh, just change doctors. The problem is, if I change doctors, then I have to go through all this crap all over again, you know, because the doctor I've had for, oh gosh, about 9-10 years. So she knows an awful lot of my medical history, and my medical history is complicated. The problem with changing to a new doctor is having to then explain all of that complicated nonsense, like, why did you have this done? Why was this? What's this? Having to explain all that is just a headache, and I don't want to have to do it, and I don't want to have to risk finding a doctor who's not sympathetic, not trans-friendly, not good. Because I've had so many crap doctors over the years that when you find one who you feel like you can actually talk to candidly, openly, honestly, you kind of stick with them regardless of how frustrating the rest of the surgery is. So, you know, and I like my doctor. She's a nice person, and I feel safe talking to her, and she's, you know, defended me several times and, you know, been in my corner multiple times. So I appreciate that, and I don't want to risk having a doctor who's not fighting my corner. The problem is that she can't really fight against her manager. So in April I have an appointment with the endocrinologist all the way in the other side of London. It was that or Brighton, and I was like, God, both of them are a pain in the ass to get to. But I've got this appointment, and he will then, I think, take over the prescription. It's still private, but my hope is that if it's an endocrinologist, maybe the NHS will be more inclined to listen. I don't know. It's stupid, really, because both the endo and the psychiatrist are both NHS doctors anyway. They work for the NHS. They just happen to do weekend private clinics. And both of them work for the GIC at Charing Cross. They both work for the Gender Identity Clinic. So when I finally get my GIC appointment in 2 or 3 years' time, because they're fucking slow, I will quite likely see literally the same doctors, because there's only a couple of endos and there's only a handful of psychiatrists, and almost all of them do everything private as well. So the doctor I went and saw is one of the primary doctors for the Gender Identity Clinic for the NHS. He is one of the big, you know, major diagnosing clinicians there. So I just find it so frustrating that it's the same fucking guy doing the same goddamn test. I just paid for him to do it rather than waiting 3 years. And yet the NHS is like, oh no, it hasn't come through our channel, so we're not going to pay attention to it. It's like, it's the same doctor! It's the same test! It's just, it's fucking ridiculous. It really is. It's absolutely stupid. And it's so inefficient, because if the NHS would just listen to the private sector and work with them and do shared care, they'd probably save themselves so much money and so much time, because I don't need a first appointment now with the GIC. I've had that. That's done. What I need now is one of the later appointments, which is which is the potential referrals for surgeries and things like that. So they could prioritise people who can't afford to go private and put them ahead in the queue. And I also just don't understand why it all has to be done through a GIC anyway, because endocrinology is endocrinology, right? Any endocrinologist can look at your hormones and all of your bloods and go, yeah, your kidneys are fine, yeah, your liver's fine, yeah, these hormones are normal. You know, any endocrinologist can do that. It's something they're fucking trained for. And I don't quite understand why they have to be specially attached to this, because I fail to see how trans HRT is really that different to any other endocrinology. You know, it just strikes me as really weird. Having had tests done for my testosterone levels and things like that a lot over the years, I just find it particularly bizarre, this idea that they can look at a cisgendered woman who has high testosterone and they can assess her on HRT, but they can't do if it's trans. It's bizarre. And I don't quite understand why the psychiatrists have to be attached either. Like, why can't we just have a more efficient system where the psychiatrists are at your local hospital, so you're not going to one building which advertises to everyone, hi, I'm trans, you know. Honestly, I'm surprised the GICs haven't been targeted, because their address is not exactly, you know, hidden. And given the contempt toward a lot of trans people, you know, I think it's just a tragedy waiting to happen, to be honest, to get us all into one place. It just doesn't, not sure about it really. But also, it just is massively inefficient. I mean, you've got people coming from absolute miles to these clinics, because there's only about 9 of them in the country. There's not very many. And so for a lot of people, it's like a 2-hour trip just to get there and then 2 hours home again. And it costs a lot of money and it's incredibly stressful. And that's not fair. You know, why should you have to travel that far to seek medical assistance and things and psychological help? Really, if they just pulled it into general psychiatry, and surely the psychiatrists have studied gender dysphoria and stuff like that, given that literally the assessment was sitting for half an hour, 45 minutes, and just talking, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like they really need to have someone whose specialisation is specifically, and even if they did have them, why can't they just have them dotted around the place and just do clinics at various hospitals? Because then you could just go in, but also I kind of feel like it would be beneficial to not just have one appointment, to have ongoing multiple appointments, so that you have your initial sort of, this is what I'm feeling, and then you kept going, you know, every month or so during transition, because transition's incredibly stressful. For a lot of people, it can be really, really hard. You know, you can lose friends, family, your marriages can break down, you know, it can be very, very difficult, and it feels like something that really having a therapist the whole way through would be beneficial to people's mental health. But also any doubts you could talk to with someone who is impartial and willing to talk about it. You know, any concerns, any fears you could talk about and get support. As it stands, it very much feels like they just kind of throw you into the deep end. They sort of go, yeah, you got gender dysphoria, now you're going to have to wait like a year before we'll give you hormones. Oh, here's some hormones. See ya. Come back for an endo appointment, but otherwise, fuck you. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel efficient, and it doesn't feel right for people's mental health as well, just to be abandoned like that. And I've found this a lot with the NHS. A lot of the time they just kind of throw stuff at you and then go bye. You know, when I was undergoing fertility treatment, they threw clomiphene at me, which is a horrible drug. It's absolutely horrendous, and it makes you fucking crazy. But also, you're going through infertility, so you're fucking crazy anyway, and feeling really emotionally vulnerable. I got no therapy at all. I was made to go to the maternity units to access tests to find out why my ovaries didn't work, and then they just threw drugs at me. And I had no monitoring of what those drugs were doing to my body at all. Didn't bother. I had no psychological monitoring to make sure I was okay on those drugs. Just after 3 cycles, I went back and they went, well, you're still not pregnant, that didn't work. You're meant to monitor. You know, because clomiphene's actually not a safe drug. It causes hyperstimulation of the ovaries. You know, I could have ended up in hospital, and they just didn't give a fuck. After I had sepsis, they discharged me and went bye. Didn't bother to check up on me. Didn't bother to make sure that I was okay. That I got any sort of therapy for recovery. Nothing. Just like, see ya. They do the same when you have a baby as well. They send you and they just go bye. You just have to get on with it. Which is insane, frankly. It's fucking insane. So, it's pretty typical of the NHS. They just, aftercare is not a thing that happens. But anyway, that's my ramble. It's 14 weeks, did I say? 14 weeks on tea. And my husband's home now, so I should shut up.